And then we will have a short musical interlude. And then after that, Peg Pipchick, our program chair, will introduce Carol Jenkins, who will introduce our speakers. So thank you all for being with us. When we met in person, we would all sing together. All are welcome. Now we're in our squares and we really can't sing together. So anyway, just know you're all welcome and thank you for being here.
Music.
I thought it was Peg.
No, music, she said.
Oh, okay. It's you next, Charlie.
Okay.
She said.
No, the third song.
We have got to come together. All of the strength, power, and all of the feeling. Wally, come on together, one another. Wally, we should believe in each other's dreams. Jesus left a long time ago and said he would return, but he left us up to believe in, and in it we got a whole lot to learn. Yeah, Wally, we can conquer hate forever.
So our program today is in honor of Black History Month. And I have the privilege of introducing Carol Jenkins, our only Black member of Voice of the Faithful New Jersey for many years. Carol is a graphic artist and a fine artist, painter and creator, and is president of Jenkins Graphics, a company in East Orange. Over the years, I have been learning about white privilege. I am aware I don't know what it is like to be the only Black woman in a group of white people. What is that like for Carol? Only Carol can answer that question. But many years ago, I read an article by Peggy McIntosh called White Privilege: Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack. In it, she said, "My skin color was an asset for any move I was educated to want to make." That's from a white perspective. We white people know so little about the struggles of people who do not have white skin. Ta-Nehisi Coates, in his book, talks about the narratives of Black people that are permeated by fear, parental fear for children, fear of systemic violence, and he explores how Black families discipline and teach survival in a hostile world. He discusses destructive myths that shape our white world and our own souls, and embraces the liberating power of even the most difficult truths. Today, Carol has brought us Cheryl and Wade Hudson to talk about their narrative. Not an ordinary narrative, but a struggle to publish books with Black children as the central characters. I checked with ChatGPT and found that there are only 100 Black publishing companies among the 5,000 publishing companies in the US. This is not only because of lack of opportunities, but I believe because of a more invisible system conferring unsought racial dominance on white people. So Carol will now introduce us to our speakers today.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm glad to be here. And I appreciate the Voice of the Faithful giving me the opportunity to talk about Wade and Cheryl Hudson. And Peg said she doesn't know how I could be the only Black person among all white faces. As I went to Catholic school in the 50s, and it was only two Blacks in the whole class, me and one other, through all of my to the 8th grade. So it's kind of easy for me. Okay. But I met Wade and Cheryl when I started a book club in the late 1990s. I started a book club for children called Just Us Books. Just Us Books, the Read Up Book Club. And I was looking for a book source for new books. One of my board members was into a social service agency, and her son was being bar mitzvah, Zachary Hicks. And one of the bar mitzvah things that he was going to do was to start a share a book foundation where he would gather books from different organizations all over, the area, and get children's books, gather children's books together, used children's books, gently used. And he was going to supply us with the used children's books, but I needed to find a source for new books for the children because I wanted to give the children a new book, at least one new book every month. And one of the people in the organization, United Way of Essex and Wisconsin at the time, said, there's a Black book publishing company right here in East Orange. And I said, no, I didn't know that. And they said, yes, it's Just Us Books, located in Manufacturers Village in East Orange. And that's how I met Wade and Cheryl Hudson, the most wonderful couple that you could ever meet if you get to meet them in person. And as a matter of fact, Cheryl, when I first started the book club and I was looking for a board member, she became the secretary of my board there for a few years. And I was so grateful to her for doing that. And now I want to introduce Wade and Cheryl. Okay, Wade Hudson is president of Just Us Books, a children and young adult book publishing company he and his wife Cheryl founded in 1988. He is also the author of many books for young readers. Recent titles include the coming-of-age memoir, Defiant, Growing Up in the Jim Crow South, a 2022 winner of the Malka Penn Award for Human Rights in Children's Literature and Picture Book, Invincible Fathers and Mothers of Black America, The Diary of the Day Madeira Voted, and his most recent title, The Reckoning, a middle grade novel. The Reckoning is a 2025 Black Caucus of the American Library Association School Library Journal Honor book and a Bank Street College of Education and Center for the Study of Multicultural Children's Books, Best Book of 2024 selection. His newest picture books, Black Boys, I See You, and What Shall We Tell You, will be released in September of 2026. Now, Cheryl Willis Hudson is an author, educator, and co-founder with Wade of Just Us Books, an independent publisher of Black interest books for young people that recently celebrated its 37th anniversary. Her titles include the picture books Afrobet's ABC Book, Bright Eyes, Brown Skin, Hands Can Recognize, an anthology honoring and amplifying Black life, co-edited with Wade, and Brave Black First, 50 Black Women Who Changed America. Her most recent title, When I Hear Spirituals, a picture book, received 6-star reviews and has appeared on a number of best books of 2025 lists. A book list review said, When I Hear Spirituals, Hudson offers a history of spirituals development from their African roots to the 207 passage of a U.S. congressional bill recognizing spirituals as a national treasure, a personal tribute to a beloved American art form. And now, Cheryl Willis Hudson and Wade Hudson.
Thank you so much, Carol. We're so happy to be with you. But you forgot to share with them that you've also designed and laid out some of the books that we've published. So we
It's
thank
true.
you for that.
That is true. I did.
Absolutely. We're so happy to have this opportunity to share with you this afternoon. I think before we talk about our journey as a publishing company and as authors, that we need to share a little bit about our earlier years when we were growing up in the 1950s and 1960s in the Jim Crow South. So I'm going to let Cheryl talk a little bit about what it was like for her because I think it's important for us to share that because it inform and shape what we are doing now. And actually, our journey as publishers and writers uh, has been determined by what happened to us during that period of time. Cheryl grew up in Virginia, and I grew up in Louisiana.
And I grew up south, and Wade grew up down south. Louisiana being much lower, but Virginia being a place where Africans first landed in this country in 1619. But both of us grew up during the 50s and 60s when Jim Crow was still prevalent in the land. That means that both of us went to all black schools, separate but unequal schools. We were not uh, privy to the white schools had new books. We had used books. We couldn't eat in restaurants. You couldn't go to the bathroom. You couldn't drink from the same water fountain. So that whole law of the land was there really until the mid 60s with the voting rights and voting bills that assured black people of equal representation and opportunity. But leaving the Jim Crow South, going to college, going away from home, it really exposed us to many ideas and uh, expanded our horizons in terms of having access to more material that wasn't available to us then. So books are in our blood. As a writer, as a graphic artist, we met in Boston where it was really cold, and but we were warm together, still just us, and moved to the New York area where we established our company and our work together.
But I think, growing up um, in that segregated society made us recognize that we could not tolerate the conditions in which we were forced to live under. And I think as youngsters, we wanted to make a difference. And I think that has sort of shaped us in many ways and determined uh, our career path. We wanted to make a difference. Cheryl and I both got involved in the civil rights movement uh, in college, uh, and, um, and and during the 1960s, there were a lot going on, as many of you probably know, because we're probably around the same age, I believe, many of you. Uh,
And
and
more.
the Vietnam War was going on, as well as the student movement at Columbia and Cal Berkeley and so many other universities, but also at historically black colleges and universities where many of the civil rights leaders came from. But I want to go back a little bit and talk about my writing. I started writing when I was a little kid, 7, 8 years of age. I would sit on my front porch and write poems and short stories. But I never really thought that I could become a professional writer or have a career as a writer. In our school, in the libraries, we didn't have a public library. The white community had a public library, but we didn't. The only library we had was a school library. But because the curriculum in our segregated schools was shaped and determined by a white school board, so was the books that we had to use, the textbooks, and also books in our libraries. So I never really had access to books written by black writers, even though writers like Langston Hughes and Ralph Ellison and so on were writing wonderful works, but I was not exposed to them. So I didn't really think that I could become a professional writer or have a career as a writer. It wasn't until I got to Southern University, where I went to undergrad school, where I was exposed, as Cheryl was sharing earlier, to all the wonderful works that had been written by black writers and black thinkers. And that was when I decided that I could embark upon a career as a writer. And again, I think a similar situation for you, Cheryl, in terms of what you aspire to be. And I think when you went to Oberlin, some other ideas came and you started to dream a little bit bigger, right? Once you went to Oberlin.
I think so. Oberlin was a stop on the Underground Railroad. It's a small college, liberal arts college in Ohio, and has a distinction of being the first co-educational college that admitted women and men at the same time in the 1830s. And also, as a stop on the Underground Railroad, Langston Hughes's uncle, John Mercer Langston, was a part of that community, and there was a Wellington Rescue. And so the Underground Railroad and the civil rights struggle came through there with Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson and a lot of activists during that time. So that really spurred me on to being more involved in both the literature and the culture of Black Americans. And after leaving there, going to Boston and starting to work, I knew that I wanted to do something that involved representing our culture. And what better way to do that than to start with textbooks? First job was at a company doing coloring in the white characters, because at that time, almost all of the characters in textbooks were white. Not to mention the trade books. So we kind of got into Just Us books some years later by actually writing and collaborating on stories and story ideas that would involve black children.
Yeah, I think too it's important to share that, as Cheryl mentioned, at Oberlin, she had an opportunity to meet Dr. King, I think, in Cleveland, if I remember correctly. Um, it was at Southern University where I was exposed to so many people involved in the civil rights movement. Um, Rap Brown, the infamous Rap Brown, is from Baton Rouge, and he was a student at Southern. So I got to know him. Stokely Carmichael came to visit a number of times.
And you remember SNCC
Yeah, and I
too.
was a member of SNCC,
And
and
CSL.
also involved in in the civil rights movement. We went on voter registration drives in Mississippi when I was a student, and so and again when we were growing up, I know this is the case for me. When I went to college, I knew that I wasn't going just for myself. I knew that I was going for my family, for my community, because I had an opportunity to do something that very few people in my community had. So it wasn't just for me that I was taking this step. It was for the people in my community, my family. And I can remember um, a couple of days before I actually left to go to Southern, different people in the community would come by and put $1 bill or $5 bill in my hand and say things like, I know it's not much, but we want to help you. We want you to be somebody. We want you to be something. Make us proud. And I think that kind of way of looking at being connected and being community has stayed with us. And I think that we have tried to operate our company, Just Us Books, that way too, with that same kind of mindset. But we're gonna jump a little here and talk about how we started Just Us Books, and that started in 1988. But actually, before we actually formally started Just Us Books, we published the Alphabet's ABC book, which is a book that Cheryl wrote and were based on 6 characters that she created. So she can talk a little bit about that. And that actually happened in 2 years before we started Just Us Books in 1988.
Well, Afrobets is really our brand and a signature brand. Afrobets Kids, Just Us Kids. Uh, uh, Black comes in many colors and many different expressions. So there's not just one black kid that represents everyone. So we figured, oh, Afrobets Kids, they can be based on our kids, our friends' kids. So we have Katura or Tura, Robo, Glow, Langston, Nandi, and Steph, our son. So they have different complexions, they have different hairstyles, they wear different clothes, they do things differently, but they're all a part of a diversity of a black community and represented the alphabet from A to Z by forming the alphabet in the shapes of their bodies. So that was a concept book that propelled us, and other books came out of it: shapes, colors, learning about your environment, being a friend, learning what you want to be when you grow up, and moving on from there to picture books and chapter books for really all ages.
And I think the important thing about that is during this time, there were few books um, that had black characters in them. So the Afrobest ABC book had 6 black characters in them. And as Cheryl said, they had names and uh, personalities, and young readers identified with those characters. Um, in 1988, if I remember correctly, Cheryl, of the 3,000 books published that year that the Children's Cooperative Book Center in Madison, Wisconsin was
Mm-hmm.
tracking, only 1%, or about 30 of those books, were written and or illustrated by uh, black book creators. So we knew when we started Just Us Books that there was a need for these books and that nobody really was addressing it. And we had taken several manuscripts, submitted them to several major publishing houses in New York, and they told us, you know, there was no market for these books. Um, One editor said, well, black people don't buy books. But we knew that that was not the case. The problem was there were very few books that spoke to them directly and spoke to their history and their culture and their experiences. Uh, and so I think, we said rather than complain about they're not addressing uh, this need, we would do it ourselves.
And I think, that really reflects a legacy of black publishers, whom there are a few, but throughout history, we always try to include in any presentations or when we talk to students and parents that the black press has been around for a while. In 1827, for example, Freedom's Journal was the first African American newspaper published in New York City. Frederick Douglass had a newspaper, the North Star. There were other organizations. Carter G. Woodson, who's the founder of Black History Month, starting with Black History Week, published books in the 1920s. There have been other publishing companies, but it's interesting to point out that in terms of the children's book community, the stories that had been written, the stories that were in libraries, were written by white people. They were not our own stories told in our own voices. And that does make a difference in terms of the perspective, in terms of the narrative, in terms of seeing things through a white gaze rather than the authentic gaze of a black person writing that story. So I think that that helps us to stand out within publishers, and also it created kind of a template for other people saying, oh yes, you can tell your own story. We can find black
With the term
illustrators.
"own voices"
Yes.
grew out of our push to get more diverse authors,
and that
yeah,
and
yeah,
that there's diversity within the black community
absolutely.
itself, that you don't have to be a white writer to be able to write about the American history. You can be a black writer. Black writers write about themselves and American history. We're all a part of that.
Yeah. So, what has been the impact of our efforts over the last 38 years or so? Well, I think that we've helped to move the ball down the court quite a bit. There certainly are more writers of color and black writers and book creators in the industry now. Many of them are friends of ours, and some of them have won major awards. Many of them often appear on bestseller lists. And when we started in 1988, that was not the case. Um, Just Us Books has published hundreds of titles since we started the company, but we've also partnered with several major publishing companies to produce books as well, including Scholastic and Penguin Random House, the Crown imprint. So, and also we did two Bibles with Zondervan,
Which is part of HarperCollins.
part of yeah, absolutely. So, what we've tried to do as a company, and we see Just Us Books certainly as a business, but for us it is also a mission. Uh, so we sort of see ourselves as an institution, particularly within the black community. Um, I think that we've inspired others to venture into the publishing arena. Uh, we've also demonstrated, and we did this early on, that there was indeed a market for books about black history, black culture, and black experiences. And when we started, I think we said we would not be pigeonholed. We're going directly at the major market, which we did do. So we were able to get our books into Toys R Us. Toys R Us had a Books R Us planogram at the time, and a lot of the other retail outlets, as well as uh, bookstores, particularly Barnes and Nobles. There were probably, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 really major bookstores, national bookstores at the time. Not so many now. But I think we've really helped to make a difference along with others who uh, partner with us in many advocacy kinds of efforts to change. One thing we want to do, see more of, is people of color as editors, publicists, in the
Distributors.
distributors, other areas of publishing,
Right.
in addition to being writers.
But you know, the thing about it is, I mean, and then there have been challenges too. Always challenges along the way of being heard and being seen. One of the books that we did in collaboration with the Crown Publishers was "We Rise, We Resist, We Raise Our Voices," and that's one of the books that has been banned or censored. And there are a number of others. So there's a backlash with every movement toward progress in the field of publishing and inclusion. There has been a backlash for it. So we still struggle with uh, getting our books to children, letting them be heard and seen, and know that they can write and control their own narrative. So we partner with and are members of PEN America, which is a writers' organization, also the Authors Guild. We're active in supporting books that are banned, and we are hopeful that we will continue in New Jersey to have legislation that does not permit the banning of books, that makes it a free and open society for all our children to be able to read.
Yeah, and I think it's important to put book banning in a larger context too. Um, Historically, when there has been progress made, particularly uh, progress made by black people, a pushback has always taken place, whether you looking at Reconstruction in the 1870s, when black people made enormous strides in terms of holding political office, uh, starting businesses. For about a 10-year period, there seemed to be um, this enormous opportunity for America to be uh, what the founders call a more perfect union. Uh, but then the white backlash uh, happened, and then as a result of the white backlash, that's where Jim Crow come from. Same thing with the black migration in the 1900s, around 19, well, actually during the war, when so many blacks came north and west to work in industries. There was a backlash then. The red
Red Scare.
scare. Well, actually, when so many black people were killed by because of white rage, and obviously the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s, you saw a backlash in the 70s and 80s with the moral majority and other kinds of right wing efforts to push back the progress. So I think that we are in the midst of one now. So it is about book banning, but it's also about erasure that's happening within our museums and other
Mm-hmm.
institutions. Um, and there's an all-out, I think, war against black literature,
Culture
black
in general.
culture, and black people.
Yeah.
But we do feel that, as our ancestors have done in the past, that we'll rise up to the occasion and withstand it and continue to push toward more progress. I think before we end, because we're near the end here, we wanted to share some things that the average person can do uh, to make sure that black stories can still be told, black history can still be passed on. So these are some steps that we would like to share with you.
Well, first of all, buy books. Buy books created by black authors and illustrators. Many of our books are being banned and challenged, so we need your support. And that's not just us book, that's individual authors who are also self-published. Support black legacy publishers like Just Us Books, Third World Press, Black Classic Press, Africa World Press, and Universal Right Publications, because we continue with this individual and independent publishing of our stories. Support black owned bookstores and places that sell African American memorabilia and culture. You can organize a reading or literacy group at your church, which is what you have done, which Carol had done as one person. We remember each one teach one, and from there we can grow more organizations so that children and read with your children so that you can read the books that you did not have when you were growing up and increase diversity there.
And a few other things that can be done also include organizing a reading group for children, specifically for children and young people in your community. There are many powerful books written just for them that they need to be exposed to. Create opportunities for those in your family, and this is not just for Black people. This is for anybody really, in your family, church, or organization to share their stories. Each of us has a story to tell about our own journey. At our church, Imani Baptist Church, the church that Cheryl and I belong to, we established a program called Sharing Our Stories, where we invited members to just come up and just talk about themselves and talk about where they came from and share some tidbits about their life journey. And that was just so empowering. Um, Even though we had known some of these members for several decades, we were surprised really how little we really did know them. So it's an opportunity to learn more about each other. And I think it helps to bring people closer together the more we learn and know about each other. Also, support libraries and teachers who are trying to make sure that all students learn about the world the way they need to learn about it. And it's an inclusive world where so many different people played a role in helping to shape our civilization and our culture. It's important that we support them. And I think that was the last one.
Support
And
Black museums.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. And also support Black museums and other cultural institutions that are trying to keep um, Black culture, Black history alive. They need our support now because they are under attack, just as books written by Black authors are being attacked as well. So I think that's it, Carol. We can entertain questions if you like.
Yes. Are there any questions of Wade or Cheryl? I just want to say the difference between the way Wade and Cheryl grew up in the South, not being around any Caucasian people. And I'm just the opposite. It was all the Caucasian people in Newark, New Jersey at the time in the 50s in Catholic school when I was going there. So it was a big difference between the way the two of us grew up in our childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So are there any questions of Wade and Cheryl from anyone?
First of all, I'd like to say people should raise their hands if they want a question. But can you state, Carol, the difference between what you notice about your growing up and what Cheryl and Wade experienced?
Well, I don't know really what Wade and Cheryl experienced growing up without any um, interaction with white children. You know, I can't explain that because, like I said, when I grew up, I was only around white children. It was only me and one other family in the school, the Walker family, when I grew up. And so I was used to the culture of being around Caucasian children, knowing what they ate, what they did. I mean, where I grew up, it, it wasn't discrimination really because the nuns treated everybody equally. They treated you by how you worked in your classroom and whether you did your homework and, so and so. So it wasn't, I didn't have that type of discrimination growing up in Newark, only because, like I said, I went to a Catholic school. So I don't know, maybe Wade and Cheryl can talk about how they grew up without being around any Caucasian people and children in school.
Yeah,
We Yeah, well, the difference was, I mean, our this is segregation de jure. I mean, by law, you couldn't associate. I mean, the first associations that I had with white kids was really in the '60s, really through my church and through we didn't have we had separate libraries. We had the white library, which we were not allowed to go to, and we had the colored library, which black people built and paid for outside of their tax dollars. So getting my library card and going to the newly integrated library in 1963. This was it really only exposure in that in terms of competition or school science fairs and all of that kind of thing. So it. But racism is everywhere. And that's not to say that it can't be in the Catholic Church or Catholic schools, but I think that we have experienced it as a nation. It's built into the system of inequality in this country, and I think all of us have experienced that in some way.
Yeah, I think you, Carol, had a very unique experience. Um, you know, because as Cheryl said, racism was and is everywhere. And if you sort of uh, not experienced it growing up, that's such a blessing. We grew up, as Cheryl said, I grew up in an all black world. We rarely saw a white person, only when we went downtown to buy something. You know, it was a white world, it was a black world. And I didn't really have an opportunity to see or experience uh, white people up close until I went to college at Southern University, where some of the professors there were white. And I actually went to an historically black college and university, so all the students there were black. Um, so it was quite a different experience when we were growing up. But I think when we talk about Jim Crow and segregation, it certainly was a bad system. Uh, but I think what our parents and our ancestors and those in our community did was to come together. So there was a real sense of community. There was a real sense of caring about each other and making sure that we could make the best out of a difficult situation together. Um, I think we've gotten away from that. I mean, I'm in my memoir uh, that was released a few years ago. I share uh, some of these experiences and how much love that surrounded us and kept us grounded. And I think because of the situations that we were forced to live under, we had to be more dependent upon each other, and that's what we did as a community.
I didn't mean to say that I didn't experience any white backlash because I
Oh,
did
okay.
in the neighborhood. I
Oh,
was just saying in the school,
yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah.
Catholic
I
school,
got you. I got you. I got you. Okay.
right? Yeah,
And
Oh, okay.
yeah,
that's where kids
Yeah.
interact and get their friendships and impressions of one another. And that's why it's so important that kids in books, be represented by all kinds of kids from all kinds of neighborhoods and all kinds of cultures,
Yeah.
and make up the fabric of this country.
But
yes.
that
Yeah.
kind of culture
Um,
you're describing that you were in school is so important. I just wish that kind of culture was everywhere in all schools because it's
yes, yes.
Bernice has her hand up.
Oh, Bernice had a question for one.
Yeah. I, your tale is just wonderful, overwhelming. And you said you wanted to make an impact, and you certainly have. But I was wondering about the impact. Has the impact uh, transferred itself into the public school system? I don't know what I'm so old. I don't know what the kids are using now, or reading now. I don't know what their uh, illustrations are. So I wondered if that impact has gone over there. And also, in any of the books, do you bring in the white children too? Do you have them interplayed playing in the series or whatever book it is? Is there any sort of a movement to do that, to integrate the white and the black in the stories that you tell?
I think in textbooks there's been a massive change. When I first began publishing in the early 70s, that was what we were doing. All the books were white, and we were integrating them with people of color, whether they were Native Americans or Hispanic or African Americans. So textbooks have certainly changed in terms of integrating more literature and just presence. When we offered just us books, to put more black people in the center, it was still much, it's still needed, it's still necessary, because in terms of the population, we are what, 13% of the population, but are not represented in terms of the numbers of children and jobs and that kind of things that are reflected in textbooks or in trade books. We have an imprint called Marimba, and a series called I Love To. And in that series, children are from all over classrooms are represented. So there are books in which the black child is the center, and there are books that we publish where there are classrooms and reflect the classrooms in the United States. But there still needs to be a lot of work done.
Yeah, there are a lot of books now being written where you have a diverse cast of characters. Uh, but when we started Just Us Books, we recognized that there were so many stories about the black experience that had not been told. And even though we published many, many books over the last 38 years, there's still so much richness in the black experience that need to be shared. Um, Over the last, I guess, year and a half, I've been doing a lot of extra reading, and I've come across so many black heroes who've made an enormous difference in different ways that nobody knows about, you know. So we still have a lot more to do in terms of really just sharing the richness of the black experience, while at the same time recognizing that we need to elevate the importance of us being one family.
Mary Lou?
Mhm.
See,
Okay.
Terry Corso has her hand up.
Terry Corso,
Yeah.
please.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, great. Boy, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for not only beginning your publishing company, but for sticking to it. I'm sure there were some really rough times, and you have persevered. So kudos to you both. So I just had a couple of questions, one comment and a couple of questions. First one was, one of the things that I do when I go to the library, and I do read a lot of Black authors, is I will take out books, some books by Black authors that I'm not going to read. But the reason I do that is because I want to see our library understand that these books are important. So if I'm taking out 5 books that I am going to read, I'm taking out another 10 that I probably won't have the time to look at. And I know it's a drop in the bucket, but it's something that we could do. I just was curious about a couple of things. One was, how connected you might be to source of knowledge in Newark bookstore.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. And then the second one was, have you worked at all with the Amistad Commission in New Jersey for helping to, raised that publishing issue and books in the schools?
In the early years of that commission, we were called to discuss ideas and suggestions, but we have not maintained our relationship with them. Um, I think what's his name?
Lonnie?
Pat
No,
Lamy is
Payne. Thomas Payne, I think his name. Thomas Payne.
oh,
What's
Donald Payne.
Donald Payne, but his brother.
oh,
Oh,
His brother
right,
was the one who started the Homicide Commission, right?
right.
Um, and so he did meet with us on a number of occasions, but we did not maintain that relationship.
Is that something that you would be interested in?
Yes. What are
He's
they
a good
doing now?
friend.
I mean, I know what they were doing because it's been around now for about 20 years, if not longer.
Yeah. Yeah, my understanding is that there were lots and lots of problems for a very
Yeah.
long period of time. So a friend of mine, Dr. Pat Lamy, now runs Amistad. He's the executive director, and I would be really, really glad to put the two of you together. So
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely. We
on
love
the
it.
side, something else. But thank you.
Good. Okay, Michelle Jenkins, you had a question?
Hi, everybody. I do have a question. I am Michelle Jenkins. I apologize for being late. I didn't find out about this until today, and I was on a call longer than expected. And I regret that I missed the early part, Cheryl and Willis, from what you're sharing. Yeah, I'm a author, and I'm Carol Jenkins' sister, her younger sister.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm an author of Mob in Action, Mothers of Black Boys, Unleashing the Brilliance of Boys of Color. And I co-host a show with Thriving Women Network, and I'm the president of the publishing division, and I host a show called Bookish, and we interview authors and, really make an impact there. And, the conversation you were having earlier about books being banned, I was on a panel with a director and a publisher and the president I'm in Boston, of the libraries, and it's pretty shocking what's happening. And it's some of the books that we grew up with that are being banned that people need to read. So I'm a real stand in that aspect. And also, I had a question, and my question was, Cheryl, when I got on, you were mentioning the names of, I believe it was bookstores. You kind of mentioned like I think it was like seven different. Were those bookstores you were mentioning?
legacy publishing companies, like Justice
Oh, okay.
Third
Is there a
Ward.
way to get a list of those?
Um, sure, we
Yeah,
could.
it can give you our email address, and if you email us, we can send that to you.
Oh, okay.
Um,
All
uh,
right. Is it going to be in the chat or
I
how
can
would I
give it
get
to you
it?
now because
I can send it to you from
okay,
them.
okay,
Okay.
I
Okay.
can
Thank
do
you. Yeah.
And
yeah.
congratulations
Yeah.
on
Carol
the
can send it out to everybody.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really committed to people getting books in their hands. I have a master class every weekend where I invite individuals to come to support them in writing their book, to getting their book done. And I'm also managing twice a week. I have a writing salon. But
okay.
what I really appreciated hearing in my short time here is having that type of gathering for young people.
Mm,
I had not thought about that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm going to take that on. So know that I'm going to be
okay,
taking that on.
good
Who's
for
the
Thank
you.
you.
publisher? Who's
Thank
the publisher of your book?
Wow. Wow Publishing.
No, who published your book?
Oh, it's a self-published.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Marcella?
Okay, I just wanted to make a comment in reference to the schools. I work in Glen Ridge Public School, which is predominantly white community, if anyone knows Glen Ridge. And the other day in fourth grade, I was happy to see that some of the students had in their hand one of Wade Hudson's books. It was the
Oh,
Great Heroes, I think it was. So I was so happy during Black History Month, but that this book was available, and the teacher had 5 copies in the room. So I text Wade that day, said, Wade, your book is like, one of the students is picking up his book to read. So I just thought I'd share that information.
Thank you. Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, actually, we've been really talking a lot about Cheryl and I, but I think we must mention our daughter and our son, who've been a major part of the Justice Books operation, really from the beginning. And our daughter Katura is actually
online.
She's
Online, yeah.
there.
Yeah, there she is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, she's the boss.
Checking in with you, boss. Just checking in. But
Oh,
yeah,
and
it's
I
important. It's
know what she's
important to
gonna
know.
say.
It's important to know. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know what she's gonna say. You did not give information about where people can buy your books. So
Good.
our online bookstore is www.justusbooks.com, and we encourage you to buy our books. Did I do all right, Katura?
And Stefan is really instrumental in maintaining our website and the
Designing.
graphic and graphics. We have gotten lots of great comments from librarians and reviewers on the quality of the artwork and the presentation of materials of our book. So we want to give shout outs to both Stefan and Couture, who are our first editors and first readers and helped to select some of the manuscripts. Stefan, for example, selected, had not been an eager reader in his youth, and we had the kids always came by the office after school and said, you know, we have a slush pile of manuscripts. Steph, I want you to take a look at, read this manuscript. If you like it, then we'll publish it. We'll let you decide if it's a good story. And actually, he picked out a book by Sharon Draper, who was once the Teacher of the Year, has won multiple Coretta Scott King Awards, and wrote one of her first books with Just Us Books,
Yeah.
Ziggy and the Black Dinosaurs. That was the name of the book, and she has gone on to win many awards in the categories. Great writer.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
It's
Colleen?
Colleen.
Colleen?
Thank you so much for this presentation. It's been just very interesting, very informative. I too would like that list of publishers. But what I wanted to say, the question I have to ask is, how did you come up with the name Just Us Books?
Well,
Well, it's
it's just
us.
You remember Bill Withers had a song called Just the Two of Us, and it was just the two of us. Actually, we were sitting at our dinner table when we decided to start the company, and we were like debating uh, what we should call the company. And we looked at each other, and, well, it's just us, so why not call the company Just Us? And
It stuck.
yeah,
It
stuck.
stuck.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's a good name.
A lot of
Yes,
people
yes.
Yes.
say
I like it. Thank
justice,
you.
justice books or just no, just us.
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
Mary Gannon?
Well, I thought you were going to read us a book, because who doesn't like to be read a book, no matter
Oh,
how old
I
you
didn't
are?
think we would have time to do that.
Or show us the picture. Show us one of your books that are behind you there. One
Okay.
that you did, Cheryl, or you, Wade.
Yeah. Well, actually, okay. This is I'm excited about this. This is not printed yet. It's coming out in September
Ah,
of this year. And it's called Black Boys I See You. Most of the books that are published um, have girls or female characters more than boys. So I wanted to pay homage to boys and come up with a manuscript that would help to make them feel important and relevant. And the illustrations in this book are gorgeous, as you could probably see from uh, the cover, the illustration.
Yeah.
So this is coming out in September. It's called Black Boys I See You. And watch for it.
That's really great, because, Barack is telling us this, that we are not paying attention to our black boys,
Absolutely.
and a book like that at a younger age is really
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
I just was wondering if it would be okay to ask Katura what was her favorite book growing up that you guys uh, created or whatever?
I don't think anyone has ever asked me that question. And I don't know, I do not know. Hmm. I think one of my favorites, I'm not going to say absolute favorite, one of my favorites is a book by an author named Kelly Starling Lyons called 1 Million Men and Me. And it tells the story of the Million Man March, which happened in what, 1995, I think, Dad, because I know you went. And it tells the story of the Million Man March from the perspective of a little girl who went with her dad. So one of a few women, girls who was at the march. So I think that was one of my favorites. I actually acquired that manuscript and we worked together on it. And it was my first one that I acquired. And I think her second book, her first picture book, she had done a chapter book with us before. So that's one of my favorites.
Oh, great. What is the author, Kelly?
Kelly Starling Lyons,
Oh,
Lyons.
thank you.
Tish?
I wanted to show this
Okay, go.
just because this is Bright Eyes Brown Skin, my first illustrated picture book, and it was illustrated by George Ford, who is a great friend of ours and co-authored with my then editor Burnett Ford. So this is a joint effort, and it's a book that I really love. It's little kids.
It's a classic.
It's a classic.
It's a classic.
I
It
must
still
admit.
sells.
Bright Eyes Brown Skin.
Like 36 years later, still sells well.
Wow.
Wow. Good. Tish?
Where am I? Hi. I wanted to say I came out of library school in 1967, and my first job was as a children's librarian in the big downtown library in Buffalo, which is on the edge of the inner city when Buffalo was burning. And we had an extraordinary opportunity because students were coming to our children's department, huge. And we had wonderful opportunities to share all kinds of books. I'm of the era when Ezra Jack Keats was a huge part of what we were doing. Snowy Day and Whistle for Willie and John Steptoe and all of those wonderful beginning experiences for young children of color who came to our library after school. And it was not a neighborhood library. It was this enormous library that had extraordinary resources. I was thrilled to death to have that chance to work in exactly that moment when those books really mattered most. Their neighborhoods were burning, and they found really something very substantial coming to our library. And I loved it when, how long ago was it now? I just squealed when I saw the first U.S. stamp that had Snowy Day. It was the Ezra Keats United States postage stamp. Oh, goodness, that was wonderful. I just loved it all. And how about when Amanda Gorman took the stage and her book for children was extraordinary. That's a huge number of decades between those two wonderful moments. What you're doing is extraordinary. We know that children, actually adults even, are having shorter and shorter attention spans. Reading books are really difficult now. I found it extraordinarily impossible to believe, but in high school, children are reading only sections of books. This is a terrible situation, and it comes from, of course, from devices and the short attention spans that are happening all around us. So why is that important? Because it starts in the beginning when you're having your families and your opportunity to read and to enjoy that book that you hold in your hand. It doesn't have to be on a device. Congratulations for what you're doing. I admire it so much. And I can't even tell you what I'm doing now. I'm a retired librarian, but you know that children are my very favorite part of what we do. So we make all of those opportunities happen in our libraries, large and small. Congratulations, really.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, thank
And
you.
we love librarians. We love librarians.
I do too. I love them.
The first librarian actually to give us a review, and I always try to give a shout out to her, is K.T. Horning, who was a children's librarian at the in Madison, Wisconsin, and a member of CCBC, the Cooperative Children's Book Center, who saw a little ad that we had done as self-publishers for the Alphabet's ABC book, and she was a collector of alphabet books, and she saw it and
Your book.
contacted us.
Oh my gosh.
And I always say, KT, you started us publishing
Yeah.
because we said, okay, well, we can publish one.
Yeah, that
we
was
can
in
publish more.
1987.
1987.
Yeah.
And she's a great champion of children's books, great librarian. She and Jenny Moore Cruz and that whole team there have been wonderful in terms of promoting diversity in children's publishing. So thank you.
You.
And if you ever want to see a plethora of children's books that I have on our website for my book club that I started 28 years ago, readupbookclub.org, you can see all the books, well, some of the books, because it's been so many years, that the kids that you have read through our book club for children.
We brought some of our authors and illustrators to come and read and share with the students, right?
Yes,
I think
yes.
George Ford,
George Ford, yeah.
Dwayne Ferguson.
Yes.
Sharon Dennis Wyatt.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Because we have what we call a literary brunch every June, the end of the book club year from September to June, and we invite an author, illustrator, or publisher of one of the books that the children read or will read to come and talk about how they published the book, how they authored the book, how they designed the book, whatever. So, some of those authors we've gotten from Cheryl and Wade to come in and be our presenter at our annual literary brunch in June. So we even had Miss Teenage America 2 years ago come and read the book that she wrote.
Oh.
So and she was not an author of color.
That's wonderful.
Mary?
Michelle?
Oh.
I just wanted to add that the first Black professional woman I ever met was Miss Allison, the children's librarian in our small neighborhood library in Newark. And I grew up in Newark, and that's 75 years ago. She was so kind, so loving, so generous and enthusiastic that we read. And that was the first Black woman, a professional that I met in my life. And it just started me off in a good way. I was so happy to ever have met her.
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Boyd, who was head of the Newark Library for a number of years, was a major supporter of ours in the early years. I don't know if you, Alex Boyd, I don't know if you know him.
Of course. Well, we have Tom Ulrich on the call. He was the director of the library several times. When somebody quit or somebody got fired, Tom would be the director for the period till they found a new one. Tom, did you want to say anything?
I was the director before Dr. Boyd.
Oh, you really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I started the Black Studies program, which led to I appointed James Brown.
Yeah, we know James Brown. Yep.
I appointed him principal librarian Black Studies and raised that to a level with our other areas like humanities, social sciences.
Great.
So I raised it up, and it became eventually the African American room.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes.
Great person.
Under Dr. Boyd, and I went on then to New York Public Library for 20 years.
Okay.
Oh,
wow.
And then when I came, and of course the children's room. Well, Mrs. Allison was still a children's librarian there when I came in 1979.
Okay.
And her husband was an author and a playwright. I went with both of them to see the performance of one of his plays in New York.
What was his name?
Hughes Allison, I believe.
Okay.
I'm digging deep into my memory here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. In my earlier years, I was a playwright also.
So he was the WPA Theater
Oh.
Yeah.
in New York. He had written for that. And Mr. Graves was a branch librarian at the Springfield branch in Newark. And he was maybe the first black branch librarian. And he had moved his branch to have a very large collection of books by African Americans, which was not the case necessarily in all the branches. But the majority of the kids in the branches were African American when I came. So it was a question of getting the library to catch up to serving the community as it was and not the way it used to be before the large black migration, which changed the city a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, we love librarians. We love them.
There are at least 3 librarians among you, right? I think there are 3 among your group.
Tish and you and Colleen, librarians, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Marie. Michelle?
Yeah, first I wanted to say that if you haven't been or brought children to my sister's book gathering on once a month, the last Saturday of the month. Is that right?
Third
Third,
Saturday.
okay. I was going to say third, but yeah, I'm in Boston. I've gone a few times. I have grandchildren and I brought them to the event and it was just extraordinary. It's not just reading, but it's engaging and learning and creating. It's just really, really well done. And my grandson is in the first grade. He's a twin and he's on a fourth grade reading level. I read to him every night when I'm there. So, it's ingrained in our blood, I think, practically. But your book, Black Boys, I See You, that's going to be released soon. I will be picking up a few copies because the way you described what that book is about is exactly what my book is about. And it's geared to mothers
Okay.
that are raising boys, particularly single women of color that have boys of color, or women that have boys of color.
Okay.
What we deal with, the challenges, there's exercises in the book. And I'll be in New Jersey on the 21st at the
Where can
Community
I get a
Summit.
copy?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. And my cover is almost, it reminds me of my cover. Can I show you my
Really?
cover?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah, wow, yeah.
It's great.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Who did the cover for you?
Believe it or not, Fiverr did it.
Okay, that's a free.
Yeah. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took 4 rounds, but they got it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was so interesting that I had like one black boy who was fair-skinned almost on the cover with one woman. And a friend of mine said, you want to represent boys of color. You want to represent multicolored boys. So I said, okay. So I put a few colors of different colors. That was the second cover. And then I told her I wanted more women in the back. And the women with gray hair, because if you can see, some of the women are like grandmas. You see that lady in the back? Because they represent, raising boys as well. And she gave it back to me with all these people on the cover. And when I first saw it, I said, that's not what I really wanted. It's too many people. But then I thought, wait, a mob, if we're talking about a mob, it's going to be more people. So it was brilliant. It just happened that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but your book is so aligned with what I'm up to. And the person I'm collaborating with in New Jersey next month, he's been doing it for 30 years with young boys. He has
What's his name?
Matt Stevenson.
Oh, yeah.
I know
Stevens.
Matt well.
Stevens.
Yeah,
Stevens.
Matt and I,
Matt Stevens,
we
yeah.
collaborated on a number of projects.
I'm not surprised.
Family.
Actually, Matt's sister was married to my brother. They're divorced now, but
Wow.
I've known him since he was a little kid.
Yeah.
He's doing some wonderful work here in New
Oh my goodness. When I met him, we both kind of like latched on. We're like, we're partners forever because we're committed to the same cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has
Another
done some
person
amazing
you
work.
need to connect to is David Miller. Matt Stevens knows him very well too. Um, he's doing some wonderful things with black boys. A
Mm,
lot of he
thank you.
does it
Mentoring.
nationwide
Yeah.
too.
Oh, okay.
David Miller.
Okay, one last thing I just want to say is I was so a little upset when Stefan grew up and started designing the books because I was doing it for just us books. I was I was the designer of the books for just us books for many years, and then when her son grew up and he started doing it, I said, "Darn! Now I lost the job." Thank you so much, everyone.
Wait,
Thank you.
Marie Hergity has her hand up for a
Oh,
while.
Just quickly, Newark Community Charter School, no, Link Community Charter School in Newark is near and dear to my heart. Have you been there to read any of your books?
No,
No, I
we
don't
love to
think so.
go there.
Okay, and I know a little bit about the Mighty Writers book group. It's a nonprofit organization. I know somebody who works there. Do
Is
you
that
have
in,
any relationship with them in
oh, is
Newark?
that in Newark?
Yeah, maybe more than Newark, but there
Okay.
is a Mighty Writers group for like my understanding it's an after school program for kids.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
You,
I must say now, we have an agent, so we do charge a fee for school visits.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. If you haven't been to Link, we'll see whether we can make that happen. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
We love that. Yeah.
You.
why isn't Link on this celebrity read program from the United Way?
I
Hmm?
You
have
know,
no idea.
the United Way has what they call celebrity read, where authors, illustrators, publishers, or book club people like myself go into the schools, and we do a reading with the children. Whatever grade level they're on, and we invite the United Way of Essex and West Hudson, which we started out of. Has what they call celebrity read. It's not a United Way of Essex and West Hudson anymore. It's called the United Way of Greater Newark. And yeah, they have celebrity, what they call celebrity read, which goes into all the schools in Essex County and have authors, publishers, or people that read to the children.
Right. But do they pay?
No, no,
See, that's
yeah, no,
we get so many requests for unpaid visits. We couldn't
Can't afford it.
couldn't honor them, uh,
right.
because
No, this is
I think
once a year. This is only once a year where they have celebrity read.
right. We get requests from schools who want authors to come in um, with career day and things like that. But I must share this. In addition to book sales, and writers don't make a whole lot of money selling books.
Right.
So a significant part of our income comes from school visits and presentation that we're paid to do. And it's a lifeblood for many writers.
And it has been affected a lot by
The
recent
book bans and
book
stuff. Yeah.
bans and censorship coming from the administration.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy to know that the Black History display in the President's House in Philadelphia has been restored. That was
Oh,
taken
yes, right.
Mhm.
several weeks ago
Yeah.
as part of an understanding or misunderstanding about the value of uh, the 9 people who were portrayed there and the importance of African Americans in our history and the importance of all Americans and all cultures in our history. So that's something that we are really grateful for in terms of the court's decision to restore that, and also librarians who have been advocating for keeping our books in the libraries and in public schools, and for parents as well who stood beside us in this struggle for freedom to read, which
And
is their
a lot of
alignment.
students.
Yes.
have organized across the country in different cities.
And we encourage by
pushing
that.
back, yeah,
Yeah.
pushing back.
Terry has one more question before we. Terry Corso?
I just wanted to say thank you for bringing that up about uh, whoever it is going into the systems to read to be paid. I think that's a really important thing for the entire white community, especially during Black History Month. You know, lots of organizations, lots of people are asking people of color to come in to help educate them, very similar to what we're doing today, but not offering, a stipend or something at all. And I think that's something that the white community has to start learning quickly, to be much, much more cognizant, to understand why, and to stop thinking that this is free service from people who have such incredible expertise and have lived these lives. So thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you. Anyone else? So we're seeing a heart here go up. This has been an absolutely wonderful experience, not just a talk. It's been an experience for me, and I'm sure for the rest of the community, to have you with us. We need to do more, even in Voice of the Faithful. That's our part of our title, to bring Black issues, Black history, and the history and the issues of minor communities to our group. So thank you so much,
Thank you.
Well, thank you for
Carol, for thinking about us, and Cheryl and Wade for joining us.
it was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
We enjoyed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you, Voice of the Faithful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Russell. Just saying goodbye. I'm not gonna. All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.